You're the Washington Commanders. You need everything. How dare you say me? I'm an MVP. I represent everything that you're not.
I don't know how else you can explain it, except there's something in the water, and if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. It's definitely a little fishy in the NFL, that's for sure.
Why wouldn't you be surprised if Rodgers returns to Green Bay?
Because he loves drama. And this is really the drama that he's getting.
That's right.
Spending a whole day meditating and visualizing retirement life, and then spending all day meditating and visualizing playing life, you know. What's it going to be? I don't know. Just hurry up and wake me up.
Come on, bro.
Tell me when it's
Bro, stop.
You know?
I've spent the entire day meditating what it would be like to talk to you on this show.
I'm going to declare the beginning of March, before we get to the Ides of March, I'm going to declare this, Kurt Heelan, to you. The Denver Nuggets are the team to beat in the West. All right, everybody, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Brother from Another on a Friday. We don't care how you're consuming us. We're just glad that you are. You're watching on Peacock TV. Thank you very much. Listening on Sirius XM, Channel 85, watching on YouTube. However you listen to podcasts, whatever you're doing, appreciate you, love you. We thank you. We're grateful. All that good stuff. We got lots of things to say, but we are all those things that I just said. Natalie, we have so much to get to. I hesitate to even like dip my toe into the water here. I hesitate because I just noticed as we did the recap from yesterday, I noticed that I had one of those, record scratch, those record scratch moments. What? Whoa, record scratch, music stops. I declared that the Denver Nuggets are the team to beat in the Western Conference. You were not on the show. I don't know what you were doing. I imagine you were like drinking some water and you just dropped the water or something. Like the glass shatters, everything around you stops. I'm going to ask you, because I do want to talk about the Denver Nuggets, specifically one part of the Denver Nuggets, but in totality, do you disagree with that statement that the Denver Nuggets are the team to beat in the Western Conference?
I mean, it's not as dramatic as you made it seem. I think it's a reasonable take. I don't think it's unreasonable. They're the number one seed in the West. They might have I don't even remember right now if who has the better record, them or Milwaukee, but they may have the first or second best record in the NBA. I think when you have a record like that and you're at the top of the standings, you should probably be deemed the team to beat, unless you're the former champions. And then I think that you can't overlook them no matter how they look. And being that the Warriors are not just the former champions, but they are a dynasty and have been to 6 of the last 8 finals and won 4 out of the 6 that they've been in, I feel like no matter what, you can never just overlook them. With that being said, that it still raises eyebrows, that it still raises questions when you call Denver the team to beat. I think that's the more notable thing, that people are like,
okay.
I don't know. That it's giving people that pause, I think is what is noteworthy.
That's a very artful job of maneuverability there. Growing up in Ohio, on our driving tests, we have to do something called maneuverability. Now, I think it's pretty simple. And it's a great test because as I've moved to the East Coast, I find that A lot of people on the East Coast didn't really do that test based on the way they drive, okay, when they see a parking spot. So here's the deal. You get five traffic cones. You get 5 traffic cones, 1, 2. There's one at the point. It's like a 1-2-2 defense, okay? You got one at the point, and you got 2 traffic cones. You got to take your car up to that number 1 cone, and you got to reverse it and go back without knocking over the cones. A lot of people don't know how to do that, but that was the parking element. If you didn't get that part, you couldn't get your license. So you did a really artful job of maneuverability there. You didn't hit any of the traffic cones. You didn't say the name. You start off talking about the Denver Nuggets. You said when you have a record like that, but you didn't mention when you have a player like Nikola Jokic. You didn't even say his name. Oh my goodness! We are in for it.
Starting the drama. You're making it seem.
We're starting.
Have an issue with the man.
We in there. We in there.
I do not.
We in there. I will say that before we start this conversation, I've told Natalie this off the air. I've always been a fan of the comments section. I don't just put it in the feed just because. I really do. I'm always here for the comments, and I feel like that there was a way we could have unlocked the comments better, and I couldn't figure it out. And Natalie, you figured it out. We're going to do comments. We're going to weave it throughout the show. I think it's a brilliant tactical move. So let's start our comments with Nikola Jokic. You talked about it. You've talked about Jokic a lot. He has been a lightning rod. I guess that's the way of saying it. He's been a lightning rod throughout the NBA this season in particular, because he is, depending on who you read, who you believe, he is the leading candidate to win the MVP, which will make it 3 in a row for Jokic. If it were 2 in a row, I don't think it'd be getting so much static, so much conversation, but 3 in a row is a trigger for some folks. So what are the people saying about Nikola Jokic?
Yeah. And I just want to give this disclaimer, okay? Like, if it were not for Nikola Jokic, I would not even take Denver seriously, as in, like, I would just look at them as like the Utah Jazz of the past, a great regular season team who is not going to go anywhere. So yes, it is because of him that they have a chance to actually contend. But we had a conversation, not specifically about the Denver Nuggets, but we, as in myself, our friend Rita Hubbard, the NFL chick, and Kelsey Nicole Nelson, during Women's Wednesdays, on International Women's Day, we had a conversation about Jokic, reacting to a conversation that occurred between JJ Redick and Kendrick Perkins. And Kendrick Perkins alluded to maybe race playing a factor in some of the voters' decision, or why Jokic is the front runner, and seem, at least when we look at things, to be so clear of the other candidates. Like, people are sort of talking like this isn't even a contest. And JJ Redick's reaction was like, he was very offended. He thought like Kendrick Perkins was suggesting the voters were racist, and it sort of just became this yelling match. I thought it was interesting, and this is something that I had tweeted about before, and I got a lot of flack for it. So we just decided to tackle it on the show and try to have a nuanced conversation around it. And so, for example, this comment that's here on the screen, a race factor. He's averaging a triple-double on 64% shooting. Then he used some acronyms to tell me where we could go. Yep. And he said, y'all hating. And the reason I picked this comment, it embodies basically what many were saying. But I also like the reply to this. I don't need to read the whole thing, but this person goes on to kind of state why Embiid won't shoot 64% and how he's a different player. And I think the overall important part of that is we get so lost in the efficiency of Jokic. He's like an advanced metrics king. And let me tell you something. I love advanced stats, because let me tell you, my boy Steph Curry, like, he's at the top of them. So I would have no reason to hate advanced metrics. But I made this point before on the show that being the best or having the best advanced metrics doesn't mean that you are more valuable. It doesn't mean that you are more valuable to your team. It might mean that you're a more efficient player. It might mean that you are a better offensive player. But does anyone think that the Sixers have a chance without Joel Embiid? Do we think they're going anywhere without Embiid? Also, when you traditionally have a bigger role on defense on a team, your offense is affected by that, right? So how are we looking at that when we're weighing it? Like, yes, Jokic is a more efficient player and his offensive stats look cleaner and nicer, but we saw what happened when they went head to head and Jokic went up against Embiid, you know, like Embiid is a defensive force, and the way that guards attack Jokic, they can't attack Embiid. So this is not a case for Joel Embiid, but I think what people are saying is like, why is there a conversation that just puts him ahead of everyone? It suggests that no one else is in the conversation with him. And it's been the last 3 years, you know, this is the third year, and each year the reasoning was a little different, but it just becomes a point when people are saying, okay, 3 years in a row, some of the things that we've applied to past two-time winners. Let me just finish it and lay it out. We can say it's dangerous, but this is
for many reasons.
But this is what's happened, and we can talk about why it is, right? But we didn't hear the voter fatigue about him the way we have with other past two-time MVPs. It didn't like prevent him from really being in the conversation. And I think yourself and others have brought up the fact that, like, you know, when Wilt got his 3 in a row, you know, he didn't win a championship every year, but he had won a championship. He had been in the finals. So had Larry Bird, and so had Bill Russell. What do you mean?
When did Wilt win his first? I don't think he had.
No, it's not about.
I don't think he had.
I'm saying, but
I think by the time Wilt probably hadn't won. If Wilt won 3 in a row, and I just need to see the years, but I'm guessing Wilt didn't win that many titles. By the way,
I didn't say he won
that many titles,
but he didn't say he won. He'd won one, and he'd also. But he'd been to the finals. Jokic hasn't even been to the finals. Jokic hasn't even been to the finals. You cannot say that about any of the 3 who have won consecutive MVPs. You can't even say that about any other player who has 3 MVPs. And so this is why people are like, what? Why is he being treated so differently? And that's why the questions are being raised.
Okay, well, I would say this on a few things. One, question of bias. So we get, we're talking about bias, and maybe there's some bias involved with the voters, whatever. There's bias. Everybody has some form of bias.
Absolutely.
Whether they want to acknowledge it or not. I'm not even talking about the big one.
I'm not talking about any kind of bias. Exactly.
I'm talking about any kind of bias. For example, let me just scratch this itch again. I've done it before, but let me just scratch it one more time, just very briefly for about 30 seconds. I'll scratch the itch of J.J. Redick, who was sitting there trying to lecture Kendrick Perkins. Let me scratch this itch about his bias when it comes to players in the league, players who he was able to build his career off the backs of these players, but he's got a bias against them. Some of the things he said about Wilt's era and Bob Cousy's era and Bill Russell's era are flat out disrespectful. And if I were a different kind of brother, I just might want to smack him on GP. So
Dominique Wilkins went after him already. Dominique Wilkins went after him.
He's wrong. He's so wrong. He's so wrong to say, oh, these were firemen and plumbers and all that stuff. When Bill Russell, was winning 5 MVPs in that league, when Jerry West was in that league, Oscar Robertson was in that league. So I find his view on the era that he's now taking advantage of financially, I find his view kind of distasteful. Anyway, that's the end of that on him. But I would say, Natalie, the problem with comparing this potential 3-time MVP, 3 straight MVP, to the others is that, yes, in some cases, the goalposts do move, and they need to, because the game changes, and we adjust based on what we've seen. So if you had told me, now if you tell me now, hey, you believe that Russell Westbrook got an MVP because he just happened to be the first one since Oscar Robertson to get average a triple-double, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it, because at the time we valued it. We valued averaging a triple-double. Well,
I never did.
I'd say you didn't. Okay, you're you're rare, but a lot of people did, and because it was a big deal. Oscar did it, I think, in 1962, and then it took a long time for somebody to get there. Others came close. Magic Johnson came close, obviously, but we don't look at it like that anymore. And so, like what the game was in the 80s with Larry Bird, it's not like that anymore. What the game was like with Wilt and Bill Russell, it's not like that anymore. So, of course, we're going to adjust and we're going to shift the focus. And all voters, and this is my defense of the voters, all of them do not think the same. A lot of them might look the same. A lot of them might look the same in majority, but they don't think the same. And so, like, to go at voters who are all evaluating, let's say, 5 great players every year in the MVP conversation. There are 5 really great players. Some years it's 3. All right. Okay, this year, all of those guys, every single one of those guys on my screen, I got 6 of them there. They're terrific. None of them would have to apologize if they wound up holding a regular season MVP award. Giannis didn't have to apologize. Anybody? Joel Embiid didn't have to apologize. Even
Giannis
Dame Lillard
champion,
on the losing Trailblazers would not have to apologize. So I think the conversation kind of has gone down some side roads it doesn't necessarily need to go down.
I don't think it has to. And Gary, can you put the comments back up? Because this was a point that someone made. This is not the time and place for this conversation. This is the issue I have with this idea. When is the time and place? When can we talk about this? This is not about Jokic. It's not about him, because we've acknowledged many times over he's having a year that's deserving of MVP. But nothing has changed about the game of basketball that would change the way the criteria, not that one, the other one, the other set of comments. Nothing has changed about the game of basketball that would warrant the kind of changes that we've made. In the first couple of years when Jokic won, first of all, in his first year of winning and his second year of winning, the team didn't win 50 games. Last year, they were a 6 seed. Russell Westbrook was actually the first departure.
Does that matter? 20-second timeout. 20-second timeout. Real quick. 20-second timeout. Yeah. Does that matter to you?
Yes, it does.
Is that your number one? What's the threshold? Is it 50 wins? Is it 60 wins?
No, it's not. What I'm saying is, I'm gonna tell you. To me, the standard has always been loosely the best player on the best team. And let me explain what I mean by that. I don't literally mean the player who is the number 1 seed, but usually, typically, if you go through the history of MVP candidates, before Russell Westbrook, he was the first departure. It was usually someone who was on a top 1 to 3 seed, and they were the best player on the team. And I was very against the Russell Westbrook pick because people were caught up in the triple-double, but more importantly, there was a narrative. It was like, oh, KD left him, and there was sort of this other kind of thing driving it. And he was the first departure away from the traditional criteria. And the second MVP that was awarded to Jokic was like that. It was like, well, he's doing less with more. Okay, he wouldn't be the first.
But
hold on. Let me just finish this thing. I promise, and then I'm gonna stop. He wouldn't be the first player to do less with more, Michael. He wouldn't. And what you're doing is you're penalizing players whose teammates remained healthy. Do we think that every other star player in the league, if they were not in Jokic's position and all their teammates were gone, that they would not average a lot of points and score? You see, so you're penalizing them for their teams remaining healthy, right? And so two years in a row, he got the award. Well, he did more with less. Now this year, when he finally meets the traditional criteria, when he finally has the team and they're number 1, then they say, okay, let's give it to him again. But the guys who were doing those same things in the past 2 years, they were dinged because It's not about a single year. If you look at each MVP year individually,
right,
you can always make a case. It's about the pattern, and that's why we're talking about it. And anyone can disagree, but there's a pattern. There's something different, and people are talking about it, and that should be okay to talk about.
Yeah, it's okay to talk about, but it's okay to talk about this. It's also okay to consider other possibilities. I'm gonna give you two other possibilities.
Sure.
Well, I'll give you one other. I'm gonna give you one other possibility in just one statement. And the statement being, you can't say voters gave it to them because of voter fatigue. Some did, but to say that the majority of voters did something in unison, I think is unfair. If you haven't asked each voter, why did you vote for Giannis? Why did you vote for Giannis and not Jokic, or vice versa? Why'd you vote for that guy and not that guy? And also, MVP voters change. So we go back to, and I heard Kendrick Perkins doing this, going back to like 1990. Dude, some of the people who voted in 1990, they're not covering basketball anymore. They're not voters anymore. They're up in heaven with Red Auerbach, watching our conversation right now. I hope they're in heaven. So you can't really connect all these things. But why don't we consider this? The bias. It probably it's a very strong case that the bias that we're looking at is analytical. It's just a bias toward analytics. And that's the pattern. It's not even narratives at all.
But why can there only be one bias?
There could be.
There's an analytics bias too.
There could be several of them. But I'm saying, maybe the number one thing that we're dealing with, the scandal here, the scandal in quotes, is that we have gone so far in the direction of analytics, which I do respect. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it's a tool. Analytics are a tool. But maybe some people have taken the tool. It's happening, and not just in basketball. It's happening in baseball too. That's why a lot of people who were not seen as baseball Hall of Famers in their era are now being considered post-era because their careers are being viewed through the prism of analytics and not, hey, I watched him his whole career and he was just short. Now these people are saying, well, wait a minute. Look at his WAR. Look at his on-base percentage. Look at his on-base plus slugging. It is above this. So I think that's what's happening in basketball. But all that being said, I love Jokic. I'm a Jokic. I love him. Natalie, I love him. I don't like him. I love him.
Okay, I really like him. I'm a fan of his. So, but I'm gonna have conversations with my opinion. It's not gonna stop me.
Look, we don't want you to stop. We don't want to stop. Let's keep going. Brother from another on a Friday. Oh, it's off. We're off and running.
I feel like my stuff that I said was facts, and we'll see at the end of the year what they do with him. But
does it piss you off? Does it? I mean,
no, because I know I'm a better player than him. I could do the same stuff like he does. That's easy. That's just showing up to work. I ain't out there, getting physical altercations with my teammates. I sit there and talk to them, try to, not break them down, but build them up.
I guess call it a rivalry now has obviously been heated on both sides.
It's not called a rivalry.
What's that now?
This a rivalry?
You want to call it that or no?
I mean, if you want to call it that, but I would disagree.
All right, well, whatever you want to call it, I guess
it's a basketball game. One team has to win, and then another team has to win. Then that's what creates a rivalry, not because one team gets up for you and talk like they can beat you and then not. That doesn't create a rivalry. Rivalries are created by you win, I win. And clearly, we won 4 times, and I think their organization has 0 championships, so I can't consider that a rivalry.
Ooh, he is ruthless. Ruthless.
I think. Hey, listen. y'all might want to fact check me on this. I think the Grizzlies, any championships, anybody? But they were in Vancouver. Did they win? Oh, they didn't win in Vancouver either. Oh, 0 championships. Oh, it's cold. That boy's cold. He's cold.
Very.
Zena Keita.
Very.
Zena Keita,
Hi.
first time joining us. What's happening? Welcome to Brother from Another. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And I want to know, I'm loving this. Maybe it's not an on-court rivalry, Zena, but I'm loving the off-court podcast press conference rivalry between Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks. And in that
it's that
rivalry,
new media.
I was going to say, and in that rivalry, it's 4 championships to 0 too, because Draymond is wiping the floor with them there too, with some pretty good put downs. What do you make of of this back and forth between these two players?
I think it's so silly. It's ridiculous. So Draymond defined rivalry as like you win one. I looked at the definition of rivalry, but one of the definitions is an equal or a peer. And we heard Dillon Brooks talk about, I'm the same player, I'm the same person. And we know that is not factually true. Like, we can look at the stats and know that is not factually true. But we also can look at what impact Draymond has made on his organization versus what Dillon Brooks has yet to make on his organization. And it's just not factually true. So you can't say that you're in a rivalry if someone is not your equal or your peer. So from a semantics perspective, it's silly, but it is entertaining. I mean, I'm eating popcorn, just waiting to see what Draymond says next, because that boy is cold. And this is a very much like young bull, sit down, please chill with these comments that you're making and these accusations and these grandstanding, like he's not bothered. Sir, you're bothered. You're talking about it a lot. And you're saying like, oh, his podcast is cute, it's fun. You're bothered. Come on, let's be real.
Whole team chirps a lot. Chirp a little too much for my liking.
Yeah, they have a lot of fun with it.
He said he should have said thank you. He got his podcast views up, and he should have at least said thank you. Says Dillon Brooks. But Natalie, you know my favorite line is still the dynasty doesn't start with you. It starts after you. It starts after you.
After you. I mean, that is disrespectful. Sorry, Nat. I had to jump in and say that was rude.
Dillon got his little, you won last night. You got your little attention or whatever it is that you're looking for. But I mean, just the audacity, the gall. Like, you can do what Draymond does. If you could do that, your team would be in a much different position. Like, what are we even doing here? It's wild disrespectful. And there are times that Draymond annoys me, and I'm a Warriors fan, but that is wild disrespectful, And at the end of the day, this team talks. They talk. It's all of them. From Jaren Jackson to talking about strength in numbers to Ja, we know everything going on with him. They just love to talk. And the Warriors always end it. And then when we end it and the fan base and the players are savage about it, then it's all this woe is me. I don't want to hear it. So get excited about your little win in March, but the postseason will soon be among us.
Right. Draymond said, it's harder for me to get out of bed in March. Like, this game is meaningless. And the thing is, it's so funny because they definitely played into it. Dillon Brooks had 14 points last night. He was 1 of 7 from the field. And did he do that great of a job on Steph Curry? No. So having him as the post-game interview was strategic. Obviously, everyone else is feeding into this. They're having a ball listening to them go back and forth. And at this point, if you're the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm thinking their PR team or whomever, why do you want to make this your stake? Like, your identity within the NBA? Why do you want to make this we're the chirpers, we're the people that are going to try and rile you people up, we're the ones that are going to like push up against Big Brother, Golden State, to try and make them feel like, oh, we're coming. When you look at the way that this team is matched up against the Golden State Warriors, there is no proof of such thing. So I don't know why they're choosing that, but the media is definitely feeding into it for sure.
Yeah, I like it though. As you said, it's entertaining, and popcorn is my favorite snack, Zena. So it gives me an excuse to get an extra bowl or two. I asked Natalie this yesterday. I'll ask you now. I said yesterday that Denver Nuggets are the team to beat in the Western Conference.
Mm.
Do you buy that? And if it's not Denver, where does Golden State right now, snapshot after this loss last night, where does Golden State rank in relation to the other top teams in the West?
I think now, unfortunately, with Kevin Durant getting hurt, that statement I would agree with. And the reason why is because the West is so inconsistent. There are no dominant teams right now where it's just the way that we saw Kevin Durant and Devin Booker just take over the last 3 games that they played together. I mean, I think they had 72 between the two of them in one game. That is dominance. That is something you can count on no matter what. You can't right now count on, you're looking at Luka and Kyrie right now, they're not gelling. And Luka just got hurt, unfortunately. You're looking at the Clippers, they're not gelling. Still trying to figure out this rust thing. So and then Memphis, obviously, same thing. They have some inconsistencies in terms of who's on the floor and also who they think they are when they're on the floor. So when I look at the West, I'm like, yeah, who has been consistent in their output? It's been Denver. And the players that they put in place, I think that their additions this season, especially with oh my God, I'm blanking on his last name, Aaron. Great additions defensively. Gordon, thank you. Aaron Gordon. Great additions defensively. They got some snipers on the outside. And of course, the pillar inside that is consistent game in, game out. In Jokic, it's like, yeah, they show up and show out and they bring their brand of basketball every single night, which is what you can't quite see within the rest of the West. And so, yeah, I would say they're the team to beat.
You want me to react to that, Mike?
Yeah, just want you to, I know
go ahead, Nat. Come on, girl. Let's go.
I know you got a reaction. Go ahead, Natalie.
We talked about it earlier. I don't think that that's a crazy at all. I think Denver deserves that respect for their record, and they deserve it because Nikola Jokic is him. I consider him to be a top 3 to 5 player in the NBA. It depends on the night, but he's up there. And so, of course, you would have to consider them and respect them as such. But because, like I said, the West is a mess, and because of that guy, Stephen Curry, y'all love to forget about, until I see a team beat the Warriors 4 times in a series, until I see that happen, I'm not discounting the champs. Draymond said it's the Warriors Invitational. It still goes through us. And when you have Steph and Dre and Clay looking like the way he has, they just need to get to the postseason healthy. And if they can do that and have all their bodies, no one will want to see them.
Okay.
Can I add to that? So, I took that question as the team to beat for the Warriors to beat, for sure. That's how I frame that question. I agree with you, Nat. I agree with you. I think, we've talked about this, and this has been a conversation throughout Twitter for months. The Warriors have had the craziest roller coaster of injuries, personnel, drama around the team, you name it this season. It's been, when you're talking about that word inconsistent, that is the definition of what they've experienced. But again, March is very different than playoff time, right? March is very different than June. And when you're thinking about a full team, everyone back, everyone on the same page, a lineup set, there isn't a lot of movement back and forth between our two-way players or injuries and things of that sort. I agree. I don't see someone going through their big 3, Steph, Clay, Draymond, and then adding in the defensive prowess of Wiggins and GP2 when they come back.
Okay, I'm just going to tell y'all this. This is the last thing I'm going to say, Zena. First of all, hell of a debut, my brother from another. I mean, this is you made the all-rookie team, you made the all-star team, you're in conversation for all-NBA. Hell of a debut, okay? But I'm just going to tell y'all this. As somebody who's lived in Boston for a long time, so I've witnessed a dynasty with the Patriots. They had 3 in the front door of the dynasty. But a dynasty has a back door, 3 at the back door, okay? Total of 6. When you're winning, okay, you get a little arrogant, you talk a lot of trash. When the dynasty's over, you'll be surprised at the amount of haters who go come at you and they're going to stand over your grave and they're going to do disrespectful things. So y'all talking a lot of trash. I'm just telling y'all, if the Warriors don't do it,
fair.
Don't call it hatred. Don't say, but why is everybody being so mean to us? No.
No.
It's coming.
It's circumstantial. It's all circumstantial, right? We're being pragmatic, I think. We're being pragmatic about the fact that, yes, right now, with the team in shambles, yeah, I can imagine why people are not considering the Warriors. But imagine them all together, strong, healthy. Come on. No.
In the 2 years when the Flash Bros were out, Michael, let me tell you something. People were dancing on their grave. They were like, oh, the Warriors are over. They're over. And then last year they were like,
oh, they couldn't wait.
Like, why won't they go away? So listen to me, Michael. Listen to me, okay? I don't care. Right. I welcome the dancing on the grave. It's not here yet. It's not here.
Okay. That's my guy, by the way, Kuminga. You know, I love him. That's the key. I love Kuminga. Anyway.
I can't believe, these pre-warm-ups, these pregame warm-ups getting players injured is like depressing. It's absolutely frustrating, but that's another conversation.
Hey, Zena, come back anytime, really. We enjoyed meeting with you. I know Natalie has followed you for a long time, but for me, it was the first time. But come back anytime. We'd love to talk some Warriors and other things. We got other things to talk about. Our brother.
We got other things to talk about. There's a whole league out there.
And Zena used to hoop. She knows it.
Multiple leagues. Well, used to hoop, probably still hoops, right? When's the last time you played, Zena?
Still shoots. I still shoot. I have not played in a while. Knees and back are like, sit down.
You've made no secret of how cool it would be to play with Aaron Rodgers. What is your pitch? You got a chance to talk to Aaron Rodgers. What are you telling him about coming to New York?
I'm telling him how close we are. I'm telling him we're right there. You got a chance to finish your career in the biggest city where they haven't done it before. They haven't won in a while since the 60s. So that's my pitch to him. You could put that 12 on. I think we retired it, actually.
But you can bring it out for him, though.
Yeah, if you get Aaron Rodgers.
I think Joe might be okay with that.
Joe said he's cool with it. He actually came on the record. He's like, I'm good. Yeah. You can have 12.
It's been so long. I bet he is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that would be my pitch to him. You know, take that 12 out of retirement and let's do something special, you know?
Oh, that was Garrett Wilson, Ohio State's Garrett Wilson.
Right.
Ohio State's Bert Breer joins us too. But Garrett Wilson of the New York Jets, Offensive Rookie of the Year, says, hey, Aaron Rodgers, come with us. We're close, and you can do something special. So, Bert, I keep checking. But right before you came on, I checked again. Hey, is anything happening with Aaron Rodgers, the Packers, and the Jets? When do you think something will happen, and what do you expect to happen?
Yeah, so imagine what my life is like right now, Michael. It's a lot of fun. I think it's really sort of up to him, you know, and I think the ball's in his court. I think the trade terms are workable. I think the contract is workable. I don't think that there are any real, I would say, stumbling blocks that'll prevent a deal there other than Aaron Rodgers deciding he doesn't want to go to New York or he doesn't want to play at all. And those two things seem like the most likely outcomes now, either retiring or playing for the Jets. Now, the Packers haven't completely moved on, but the way they've approached this offseason is just completely different than the last 2 years. The last 2 years, it's we'll leave the light on for you. Take your time, Aaron. Make a conscious decision, Aaron. We'll build the team for you, Aaron. This year, it's more like, let us know by free agency because we got plans to make. And, oh, by the way, this roster may look pretty different than it did the last couple of years. So they aren't pushing him out the door, but there are a lot of subtle signs the way they're handling and have handled the last few weeks that show you kind of where they stand on this. And I think a not insignificant part of this is they feel a lot better about Jordan Love now than they did in either of the last two off seasons.
Yeah, Albert, the Jets are clearly recruiting him heavy. You see some of the players here. He did his darkness retreat. We're hearing sort of these things like it's coming soon. When do you think we're going to get a decision? Because I'm tired of waiting. I want to know.
I mean, like I said, like it's, you know, I mean, it, like my weekend is going to consist of me making sure that nothing's happened while I'm at like youth hockey games. So, you know, I think that we'll probably get a decision before Wednesday. Does that mean Saturday? Does that mean Monday? Does that mean Wednesday? I'm not sure. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to respect the process for both teams here. And remember, like there's some train of thought here that like he'd just be screwing the Packers by waiting. He'd sort of be screwing the Jets too, and if he's planning on playing for the Jets, like he wants to be in place before the start of free agency so they can start doing the things that teams in that position where you've got the older quarterback that puts you in win now mode would do, and they've got some flexibility to do some things because some of their best players, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Ollie Vera-Tucker, Breece Hall coming back off the injury, Quinnen Williams, a lot of those guys are still on rookie contracts. So they got the flexibility to do some things, but as you guys know, if you wait until April 1st to make your decision, a lot of those things come off the table. And so it's not only the best thing for the Packers, but it'd be the best thing for the Jets for everybody to have an answer by the middle of next week too.
Now I'm going to ask you about Lamar Jackson in a second, but before I get to Lamar, I want to add one more thing because we've shown some headlines here, and one of them said, "Hey, how the Jets could get how the Jets could get Aaron Rodgers without giving up their first-round pick." And it really makes me wonder, okay, what kind of trade package are we talking about? Like what?
Yeah.
Because if I'm the Packers, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you Aaron Rodgers. You better come off a future first or the first this year. I'm getting a first-round pick, even if I want him to leave, because it's Rodgers and that's what quarterbacks demand. What is it? Give me a sketch of a trade package.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could dig your heels in if you're the Packers. That's certainly an option, and the Jets seem like they're all in on this. But I think what's more likely is probably a second-round pick and a conditional pick or two down the road. Their second-round pick, the Jets' second-round pick, I believe falls at 43rd overall, which isn't that far off from being a first-rounder. So, like, I think it'll probably wind up being a combination of that and, again, like a conditional pick maybe in 24 that would be based on how he performs in 23 or a conditional pick in 25 that's based on how he performs and whether or not he plays in 2024 and plays for the Jets in 2024. So I think that's the more likely package. I think part of this, Michael, is his age. Part of it is his contract that you're asking another team to assume the $60 million. And then, there's also the fact that there aren't a huge number of suitors out there. In fact, there may only be one. So I think all of that plays into the fact that the value isn't the same as, say, it was when the Lions traded Matthew Stafford or the Broncos traded Seahawks traded Russell Wilson, or when the Texans traded Deshaun Watson. This is a totally different situation. So I think it is going to be difficult for the Packers to get a first-round pick in return.
Tell me quickly, who does Lamar Jackson play for in 2023, and what's his contract look like?
Ravens. And, I think the compromise here is doing like a Kirk Cousins type of contract, guys. Like everybody's fixated on the Deshaun Watson contract. I think that one's hard because I think the reason why that one's hard is because, you look at his playing style and the type of offense you're going to run for him, and then the injury history. He's missed over 30% of the snaps 2 years in a row, where if you're the team, you say, that's a bridge too far. Is like guaranteeing you money in 2027 is too much for us. And I can also understand where Lamar looks at this and says, well, wait a second. I just took on 5 years of injury risk. I played out my rookie contract, and now you're looking for injury protection down the line. So to me, the middle ground there would be a shorter term, fully guaranteed contract. So do something, and the numbers would be bigger, but Kirk Cousins got 3 years fully guaranteed. So instead of doing the traditional top of the market quarterback contract like the Ravens have offered, which would be, 3 years of guaranteed money, then 2 or 3 years in the back end of non-guaranteed money, just say, instead of doing that, like, let's just lop off the non-guaranteed years at the end. We'll do a 3-year fully guaranteed deal. Everybody can walk away from this happy because you're getting your guaranteed money. And if you hold up physically, you got us coming back to the table 2 years from now. So, like, I think that would be the compromise. And I think he will be a Raven. I think more or less, like, people look at this as them shoving him out the door. That's not what this is. This is the Ravens saying, okay, you're over here, Lamar, we're over here. There's a serious philosophical divide that has prevented us from finding a middle ground. So let's let the market decide. And, I think within a couple of weeks, we're going to see what the market says about it.
So the word of the last few days has been collusion, and the market has been saying they don't want to meet with him. what do you make of that? And if teams are going to meet with him, who would it be? And what would be, if he didn't end up going to the Ravens, what would be the most likely location?
Well, so I would say, like, and Michael knows me well enough. I'm not afraid to accuse the owners of collusion. I think it does happen on some level in the NFL. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is the amount of boxes that you have to check to be truly in on Lamar Jackson right now. You have to be comfortable with his injury history. You have to be comfortable with a fully guaranteed contract. You have to be comfortable with giving up draft picks to get him. You have to be comfortable with blowing up your offense and running in a specific type of offense for him. When you keep checking boxes off, and this happened with Tom Brady. This is why there are only two teams at the end with Tom Brady, because you had to check a lot of boxes to be in the mix for him. Like when you start to check all those boxes off, you eliminate teams. And so I think that's why we are where we are. That said, I do think that there are some teams that are going to look at this and see opportunity. And, I think the Raiders will make a phone call, right? Like, I think there are teams out there that will make that phone call. Now, are they willing to go to a fully guaranteed contract is a different story altogether. So I don't think there's been collusion, but I do agree with people who say, well, what does it hurt to make that phone call and see what he wants? That's the part that I agree with. I think there are a lot of teams out there. The Commanders are one of them, and I don't think the Commanders are going to be interested, but I think they should be interested. There are a lot of teams out there that should at least pick up the phone and make that phone call and see what he wants. And by the way, because he doesn't have an agent, we don't know which teams are going to do that, which teams aren't.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
He doesn't have it. Because I will tell you what. I'll tell you what. If he had an agent, that agent would have been tampered with quite a bit last week in Indianapolis. Yeah. And because he doesn't have an agent, but that's the thing is, if he had an agent, I do think he would have a better idea of what the landscape is out there. Because he doesn't have an agent, it's much harder for him to get an idea of what the landscape is. And so that's where we're left to, as reporters, to call these teams up and say, hey, would you do this? And that's where all those no's have come from.
Albert Breer, always appreciate the knowledge, man. Enjoy your weekend. I hope you do enjoy your weekend. Or if you're at those youth sports games, you can kind of play it off on the slide. Hey, good job, honey. Good job. Gotta go.
That's what we signed up for, right, Mike? Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Right. Thanks, Aaron.
That's what we signed up. We signed up for. We signed up for that on both counts. As journalists and dads. So where you go. All right, Bert. See you.
All right, thanks, guys.
There are plenty of stand-up comedians I don't think are that funny. I've never thought that Martin Lawrence was very funny. I don't even really like the show Martin. Never did. Still don't.
Damn it, Jason.
I never thought Jamie Foxx was that great of a stand-up comedian.
Oh, my God.
I'm just, y'all know me. I'm just being honest.
Dude.
Just being honest.
Dude.
So I'm saying that to say that
don't be so honest. Don't be so honest. I know you have a larger point, but golly.
Don't be so honest.
I've never thought Martin Lawrence was funny. I've seen a grand total of 3 episodes of Martin. That show never makes me laugh. Seriously, it never makes me laugh. But I don't like Friends either, so I'm that guy.
Okay, I hear you. Although your credibility is quite questionable. It's like everything you said after Jamie Foxx ain't that good of a stand-up comedian and Martin Lawrence ain't funny. It's kind of like I have a hard time listening to you without listening through that context.
Oh, the comments continue. And my favorite, damn it, Jason. Damn it.
Well, listen, Michael, we had some heavy hitters on this one. Roland Martin. It's time time to put Dr. Jason's black card in review status. Another viewer, your black card is currently suspended. Please contact your local black office to discuss the methods of reinstatement. They were going in. Brian Alexander Morgan, another heavy hitter. He's done stuff for SWV, all the greats in the music industry.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
He actually agrees with Jason on Martin's stand-up, but the show, however, was funny. And he's still one of the funniest MFs ever, starting with Wanda, and he just goes on. And Jason continues to defend it. He continues to double down on these takes in the comments.
Oh yeah, he does. He keeps defending it. And okay, you know what I did? I noticed this because I watched this clip. I was so stunned by his Martin comment that I missed initially. I didn't see this. I'm telling you, Nat, I didn't see it until the replay. That he went in on Jamie Foxx. Oh, wait a minute. Jamie Foxx. And when Michael said to him off the air, he said, "Have you seen I Might Need Security?" I don't think Jason was familiar with that great Jamie Foxx stand-up, "I Might Need Security." Like, Mike and I quote that all the time. It's hilarious.
Right.
But Nat, you know, this is really just overall, it's interesting to me who people think are funny or what they think is funny.
Yeah.
Because we
very
start off
subjective.
that clip, we start off talking about Chris Rock. And, you know, I thought Chris Rock's special was funny. I could tell Mike Smith, he wasn't feeling parts of it. And we never got to it with Jim Trotter, who was on the next day.
No.
But Trotter put in his feed that Chris Rock special was not must-see TV. So
No.
he wasn't really feeling it either. How about you? I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. Did you like it?
I mean, it's funny because Chris Rock used to be one of my favorite comedians. And I just think sometimes with age, things don't age well, you know, and like some of the things, and even Martin to an extent, because I want to take kind of the other side here and maybe help Jason out a little bit. There were people pointing out that there are certain things about Martin when you go back and look at the way he used to go at Tashina Arnold's character in the show could be deemed as misogynistic. And so Chris Rock has a thing with Black women, and we've talked about it, and it's a conversation for a different day. But there's just some of the things he says that rubs me the wrong way. And also there are things he says that I think are funny. And, you know, so I didn't love it, but there were parts of it that hit, and I'm in that camp.
Yeah, which I think is successful comedy, because even with my favorite comics, whoever or your favorite comic, if you agree with everything, I think they've missed. A great comic will push you, got to push you a little bit, got to make you a little uncomfortable, or you got to be thinking after the show, not just, oh, that was really funny, but, oh, is that true? Let me wrestle with that a little bit. If my comic is not making me wrestle, my comic has failed me. I want to laugh, but I also want to think a little bit.
Yeah,
but Jason Johnson,
out of hand. And
damn
by the way,
it, Jason,
playing about the revoking his black card. It's just jokes. Don't take that so seriously.
Oh, he knows. Hey, y'all, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Monday. A lot of stuff to talk about on Brother From Another. We'll be here at 3 Eastern. See you. Hey, thank you for watching Brother From Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.